One, two, no. Hi.
Hi. So, Emmy, what have you been watching? What have you been listening to? Tell me what's up. What have you
Yeah,
been
so
checking
I
out?
I felt like I wanted to pop on and record this immediately because I was moved about Fresh Kills, which is Jennifer Esposito's
Uh-huh.
debut film. Do you know that actress?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
didn't realize she was directing.
it's her directorial debut.
Okay.
And like, let me just tell you that I was so moved by this movie that I hopped on Instagram like a
Mm-hmm.
legit fan, not followed her and then
Okay.
DM'd her. I like
You
bought
love you loved this movie.
I loved it. Wrote her a note, like, was like, I'm just a musician from Brooklyn who like
Yeah.
loves film, but I just wanted to tell you that like I loved this movie and thank you so much for making something that is not cheesy. Because like everywhere I look, every movie I watch, all the
So,
movies that are like getting hyped feel so
yeah.
cheesy. So, anyways, she wrote me back
Okay.
and
So
she was just like, thanks, spread the word at the end. But still, it was a response.
that's very cute. That's very cute. So she or someone from her team wrote you back, which I think is
Yes,
great.
right.
Either way, either
That's true.
way,
That's true.
it's
But it
good.
does tell me that she's very excited about, that she's like, if her or her team is interacting with people,
Yeah.
think that she really cares about like doing a good job with her directorial debut.
Yeah, give me the synopsis. Can you tell me like what's the genre? It's a horror film, it's a comedy. What is
It's
it?
really more of a suspense film,
Okay.
mafia related, but really,
Ah, okay.
really, it is the story of the effect that being in a crime family, like the trickle down effect of it. And like the story is told from the perspective of the women who are often regulated to the sidelines in a male dominated world of organized crime.
Oh,
Um,
I did hear about this film. I did
yeah,
I did hear something about this film. Okay.
it happens from the perspective of uh, Christine, which is played by Jennifer Esposito, which is
Okay, so she's in it and she's directing it.
that's absolutely right. Yeah, she stars in it, directs it. The main character is Rose. Basically, there's two daughters, but Rose is the main one. And Rose is sort of inclined to be more gentle, while her
Okay.
sister, who's sort of like the secondary character to the story, has inherited this sort of like personality or abilities or characteristics of her father, who's like a crime boss. And this main character, Rose, is like how it doesn't seem to be innate within her. Maybe she's taken more after her mother, but
Mm-hmm.
that there's this like understanding that everybody has to stick together all the time. They always back up the father because of everything he's done for them. But really, in the trickle down effects of being in a crime family, he can't really protect them. There is
Right.
no protection
Right.
as long as he's involved in that. Even if it's not directly like related to a crime deal
Yeah.
or or being in the mafia, what it does to the people around you.
I think it's fascinating to think about
I mean, it's like a
a world
metaphor.
that's it's so masculine. It's like a hyper masculine, hyper, you know, basically every character has a penis, and if you don't, you're the character who's going to get killed or beat up, or you're used as collateral. Um, characters who are not men often in those films. And I'm just thinking of like The Godfather or Goodfellas or all that stuff. It's like
Yeah.
any woman who's in there is the wife or the mother or the daughter or the cousin or the sister, and they get killed or they get bruised around or they're dealing with the, kind of, they're just like getting hit by the waves of the male character's actions continuously.
Yes.
So I think sounds to me like it would be an interesting premise to have a film where you have more of a female character arc in general, right?
Yeah. And I mean, not only is there more of a female character arc, it's literally like no time spent from the male perspective. Like we're used to in mafia movies seeing being like, I gotta leave and meet Jimmy at the clubhouse, and like, we're in a strip club, and and we're all spanking girls. Like, I mean, I just
Totally.
recently we rewatched Sopranos with my husband, with Nick, and it couldn't be more drastically different. In this film, which is more female centric, it's this internalized anxiety we're all like you're feeling the entire time, and how that internalized anxiety is specific to the women involved in these sort of crime families, um and sort of how they manage and cope through all of it. And sometimes it's by sort of adopting the attitude of the men, and sometimes it's by, you know, accessing their like innately feminine or female sort of aspects of their personality to nurture each other, to protect each other, to mother each other, to that kind of thing.
So I'm just so curious a little bit too
Yeah.
about just your own theater experience. Like, where did you see it? Were the seats recliner? Were they like regular sit down? Did they serve food? Was
I
it just
watched it at home.
candy?
I watched it at home.
Okay, good. That's
I
fine.
wish I had gotten, no, I watched it at home, totally on a fluke, saw it, watched the preview for it, and in the trailer, watched the trailer for it. And the trailer was so artistically beautiful that I was like,
Wow.
yeah, I
Okay.
didn't expect the story to be good. I was just like jumping in for like art director inspo. You know what I
Ah, okay. Okay, totally.
mean? Because we're talking about, doing our next short
Project.
together.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, and so I've been watching so much for like art direction inspo. And this specifically
Hmm.
was like I was exploding inside from sort of inspiration afterwards. And
That's
just,
cool.
yeah. So I feel like not A, you should watch it. B,
Okay.
everyone else should watch it. And C, um, it was like a major triumph on Jennifer Esposito's part.
Wow, it's gotten a 92 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, and I do check everything on Rotten Tomatoes.
You do.
I
Okay.
do because I want to watch things that change my mind lately. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there's
Hmm.
moments where I'm like, I want to put something funny on the background, but I'm just trying so hard to change the way I think about film and art lately. So
Okay, so I'm just looking at the cast. So we've got Jennifer Esposito, Emily Bader, who plays Rose, Dominic Lombardozzi, Annabella Sciorra. I'm probably saying these names. Oh, so Jennifer Esposito also wrote and co-produced it.
yes. And so, I mean, this is just a little sideline question, but I'm like, does Jennifer Esposito come from a crime family? Is this like from experience? Is this just an imagined scenario?
Wow. So in a interview with Variety magazine, Jennifer Esposito told them that the idea for the script had been percolating in her mind since she was 16 years old and growing up on Staten Island.
Yeah.
So you're right. She's touched it into her childhood.
Yeah. And what's so interesting is that it takes into place all these different things that were occurring during that time period. So like um I mean, really vastly different things. And also specifically things that are feminine, like interesting to the feminine experience,
Yeah.
female
So
experience. So like specifically like she wants to be on a talk show. She wants to assist on Sally Jesse Raphael. I mean, how many times do we see in mob movies male characters finding respite in a Sally Jesse Raphael type of talk show? It's just it's so clear that women find respite and cope using different things than men do. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's
sorry.
like it touches on how like she finds respite in this sort of like Sally Jesse Raphael talk show. It's like these things that pull you away from dealing with reality. Also,
Yeah.
punk was such a thing during that time.
Yeah. So this is based in the 80s.
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
And how punk was sort of changing the characters,
Mhm.
changing like her local neighborhood, how it changed sort of like characters in the neighborhood, how it sort of juxtapositions how much those crime families sort of judged people in punk, but really those people were maybe more sort of ethical, even though they didn't believe in God or whatever, than these people who are going to church every Sunday and then, you know, cheating on their wives and so forth. And that also maybe that everybody has good sides and bad sides. Nobody is.
Right. So it's showing more of the duality of every person innately. Now, as we've been talking, I pulled up the Wikipedia page, right? And something
Yeah.
that's really interesting and I think very now.
Yeah.
So Jennifer Esposito told Deadline Hollywood in October should struggle to get financing for the project with financiers and distributors due to the lack of male lead characters in the film. Funding instead arrived from a unique source, with Deadline Hollywood calling it the first feature film financed and traded by a global group of fan investors via this first of its kind IPO on Upstream Exchange, the Ethereum powered digital stock exchange. This is a crypto funded movie.
Wow, I had no idea. And it
Yeah.
got funding because there weren't male characters.
Now, I
Just
think
got
it's
chills. That's crazy.
yeah, that's wild. It's also I think what's happening in film, and I say this, over the past year, like going to a bunch of different festivals, I guess over the past 2 years, going to different festivals. Anyway, the conversation at a lot of these festivals that comes up again and again, it's always about funding, right? Which I think is like common in the arts. It's like, how are you going to fund your album? How are you going to fund your tour from the musician's standpoint? Even
Yeah.
painters, it's like, why are you doing it? How are you making money? Where's the money? Where's the money? And so with film, that's obviously huge because a lot of these films, we're at this moment, I think, in blockbuster Hollywood where they'll put so much money into a huge, comic book movie. It's like $250 million or like $500 million. Crazy amounts of money are going into these really huge, huge, huge level productions. And people are just not showing up to the theater as much anymore. But that's why they feel, I think, like they have to do that. So that's like they're coming in and you're really seeing the boom, 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 and all this kind of stuff. But I think
You're talking like action movies.
I'm
Like,
talking action
yeah,
movies.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking like
People want
high level horror, big, whatever it is, like, that kind of stuff. And we have an opportunity if studios would believe this is actually something that can happen, and I think it is, of backing that back down and saying, okay, instead of making like one or two huge, 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 huge budget movies, what if we made like 20, 25 million budget movies?
yeah.
Because a $25 million movie, yeah, that's still a pretty big budget. But when all things are considered, it's so much more manageable and you can have more interesting types of film being made for this. Now, I don't see what her budget was off of her IMDb, but you can't, when you have things that have these budgets that have to be like hit so high, I think we lose out on you lose out on the director and the writer, especially since she's both. The director writer's opportunity to really be like an author and
Yeah.
really be a big storyteller because they're not having to compromise as much, right?
Yeah.
There's not a studio executive coming in and saying, oh, I know you wanted to cast this person, but we think we want you to cast this person because we actually have 3 other movies that they're going to be in, and they're the next Hulk Hogan or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you have to do all these balancing, and then what ends up happening is it's like mediocre art because you've had a million chefs in the kitchen and everybody's like touching the salad. Now you're serving it. It's like gross.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
kind of how it
Yeah,
feels.
what you're saying is like by having so many hands in the pot, the film actually ends up like losing identity because it's not from one specific or just a few specific aligned people's ideas of what will make it good. It's like you lose control emotionally, and you have to compromise to make, the money guys happy or whatever.
Yeah.
And the
Exactly.
film loses its identity and maybe,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I was talking to my friend Lee, who he's produced a bunch of documentary stuff, which is really cool. And we were talking about Beetlejuice, this is months ago, and how there's no way Beetlejuice would have gotten made today.
Yeah.
There's no way it would have gotten greenlit. There's absolutely no way. That movie is crazy. It doesn't make sense. People either love it or hate it. I absolutely love it and I'm obsessed with it. And I'm really
I
eager
love
to
it.
see
One
this
of my
new version.
favorite
Yeah.
movies ever. Yeah.
Totally very, very artistic, such a vision. Tim Burton is a fantastic director. He's a
Yeah.
fantastic storyteller. He's one of my favorite directors. Every time he puts out a movie, I go and see it. They're not all home runs, but they're generally, he's got a good sensibility to him.
Yeah.
But
Look.
it's like musicians, right? You have to have, when people were able to get signed and have that development opportunity, like Tom
Yeah.
Petty,
Yeah.
he has some early shitty records. Of
Yeah.
course, you get better as you keep going and you can
Yeah.
kind of like catch your wind and now you got your groove and you're going. We don't give artists that opportunity anymore on either side of the stream, right? Like no
Yeah.
matter what you're doing, you're expected to walk in and it's like boom,
Yeah.
right? Or you don't get to play at all.
Yeah.
I might be very tangential here, but
No, I don't think so. I mean, in reference to this specific movie, you're just saying like because maybe, I mean, we don't know the exact budget, but maybe because they unconventionally fundraised for this, they had some more control over making sure the movie stayed like pure to its
yeah,
sort of her original intention to the writer and the
yeah. And I
director.
mean, you liked it and it got a 92 on Rotten
Yeah.
Tomatoes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like obviously good. I haven't seen it, but it's obviously resonating with people. And I think, audiences are hungry for something that's different and it's not the same shit. And it's one
Yeah.
of those things where the more, people can do that, the more I think we need to support it. So that's awesome. That's a great
Yeah. And
recommend. And I will definitely watch that.
and another thing that I think I loved about it was studios don't seem to be wanting to make movies unless there's like you said, it's action related, or there's like a murder mystery, or these sort of like formats that just like always do well. And really there's like so many movies, so many stories to be told in this
Mhm.
world. And spending 2.5 hours on a movie is a reasonable investment of your time. And it's nice to leave that having learned something, I mean, my point is that artists get into making art in this situation, a director, an author, writer gets into making this piece of art with the intention of maybe emotionally moving or growing
Yeah.
the watcher.
Mm-hmm.
Growing the watcher. Here's a story. This is, there's, if it's something, you really care about telling a story on, it's usually because you want to teach the watcher something, help them, avoid a specific sort of heartache, or inform them on maybe why they're having the heartache. That gets lost with what's popular because it's a risk to emotionally move people. So studios that get the most budgets are making safe, boring stuff. So
Yeah. to
or
piggyback on what you're talking about
yeah.
too, I
Mhm.
think it's also because we're living in that time of, conglomerated media companies. A conglomerated media company means they've eaten up all the other little media companies.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, this is owning, Disney owns this, and they own this, and they own this, and they own this. And they also own the toy factory that's making the toys that's part of the movie. And
Yeah.
now we've got this and this. And
Uh,
so any product they make, it needs to not only be successful with the one product that it is, but it needs to have the ability to cross over into different cultures. And that's part of the reason why, like, action movies, big studios are making them to get people into the theaters, but they're also making them because the storylines are very simple to understand. And if you
yeah.
dub it over into another language, someone in India who knows nothing about the United States,
Wow.
they get the story, right? So it's like, okay, this guy's from outer space and he's come and somebody stole his girlfriend. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, he's blowing things up because he needs that magic sword. It's like they all kind of touch on a little bit of the familiarities of stories throughout our world that have to do with every culture's like mythology. You
Yeah.
kind of understand the epic of the hero's journey.
Yeah.
Something happens, the hero goes through a low point. They have to rise to the occasion. They have to battle the monster, the enemy, the opposition, whatever that is. They overcome that. Yay. Now they've learned more. And the girl that they met at the beginning, now they have her in the end too, or whatever it is, right? It's
Mhm.
like, so as these companies are doing this, and I think this is big part of the problem, we see larger and larger companies coming into existence. They're
Mhm.
eating each other up.
Mhm.
But to have really huge companies, and you see this with magazines, we've seen this with record labels, we've seen this with everybody. They have to make these numbers that are insane to stay alive.
Yeah.
They can't take risks because they need to be able to put it into every country in the world.
Yeah.
And the people who want stories in different countries, they're usually going to want stuff that's like, frankly, it's a male lead.
Yeah.
And it's usually a white guy.
Yeah.
And he's usually some kind of superhero-ish dude.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible. That
Yeah.
movie has done fantastic because it's a very simple storyline every time.
Yeah.
I've never seen those movies. I like Tom Cruise, but I've never seen those movies. But it's just like, because people get it.
Yeah.
You know what the movie is. There's no real big surprises.
Yeah.
So a film like this, just to go back to this, yeah, she can't get funding because it's female led, but she can't get funding because you can't dub this movie into a million languages. People have to understand the subtlety of the family complex within the
Yes.
story, and they're not going to be able to do that if they don't even know you know, they're in a country where it's like, wait, women can wear pants. Just, you know what I mean? It's
Yes.
like
Yes.
they're
It's
going to
like
get caught up on some details that
yes.
they can't even relate to it anyway.
Yeah. 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 I totally get that. That's really interesting because because it's like we're telling we're telling nuanced stories at that, at this point. Once Fresh Kills is being made, you're telling a very specific nuanced story that is American because while there's mafia kind of in every country and we can kind of understand that the Italian mafia in America is a very specific sort of nuanced story that Americans very much understand. I don't know how much say she had in the art direction, out of control, beautiful. I don't know how much say she had in the soundtrack. The music was amazing. The actors were, it was so well cast. I mean, across the board, I loved it. Slash,
Yeah.
it has lots of surprises and twists and turns. I mean, I wouldn't say it's exactly not action oriented. There is action in this story, and it definitely could be a major motion picture.
Because it has a solid point of view, which
A
goes back to our
solid,
other
yeah, and
point. You can't
this,
have good art without a solid point of view. If you don't have a point of
and it's
view,
just a straight up good story. If you have
yeah.
a good story to tell, I mean, it's like any grandpa sitting at the dinner table with a good story, or grandma will keep you drawn in if
Hmm.
if the story is good. Do you know what I mean? And so it's
Yeah.
like I think that we get away from telling a good story. I was really happy to be told a good story on this specific night that I found this movie on.
I love this.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And A24 is the studio that ended up putting it out. And so, and then I connected that a bunch of these movies I'd seen had been A24 that I'd loved recently. And I went
Yeah.
down like a major A24 rabbit hole.
They have some incredible films. I think it's, to me, really, really, really good taste.
I really wanted to hear about Bette Midler's punk album though.
Okay. All right. So I'll tell you about that.
Okay.
Let me grab the record. Hold on. Because it's like right behind me and I was listening to it the other day. Bette Midler. When I say Bette Midler, what do you think of?
Beaches.
Yeah, right? Beaches. Her song The Rose.
Yeah, The Rose was
she's funny and she's a good actor. So I have this record of hers. This was put out 1973, Atlantic Recording Company.
Yeah.
And
what
it's Bette Midler.
What a great cover.
Cool.
For the people just listening, it's like very graphic. It looks almost like 40s.
She's got like this black low-cut dress on, but it's T-length. Her nails are red, her hair's red, her lips are showing.
Like a drawing. It's almost like an illustrative.
Yeah, it's a beautiful. I love this. Then on the back, we've got a photo of her. Wow. The classic singer look. She's got her nice ruched dress on. Now, this record I put it on. I loved this record. I didn't know what to expect. It's just Bette Midler. You found it?
Yeah, 1972.
And it sounds, this record to me, I was just like, what the hell? Like when I played it, it was not Bette Midler, The Rose, Bette Midler, mid-90s Bette Midler. No fucking way. This is like so much more raw, so much more, to me, way more awesome. I mean, I was just absolutely shocked.
Yeah.
Wait. So she's got the classic piano stuff, okay? Because you're listening to Skylark, right?
Yeah.
But dude, she fucking wails on some of these. Like it really felt.
The next song's called Drinking Again.
Yeah,
it's less show tuny. Oh, she does I Shall Be Released. She covers that. Yeah, this is definitely sexier than I think of Bette Midler.
And like more groovy, and it's just more loose, and it's got this kind of vibe to it that I was like, okay, I could actually listen to this. I was kind of surprised. So when I had some friends over, I played this record. I didn't tell them who it was.
Yeah.
And I go, who do you think this is? And they're like taking guesses. I was like, no, dude.
She's wailing. It's got like soul for sure going on. Soul rock. She feels like breaking up somebody's home is the lyric.
It totally changed my view on Bette Midler.
Yeah, like she's definitely the album cover is sort of sexy.
Yeah, and she's always had a little bit of that like cheeky, hey, I'm Bette Midler. What are you doing with me? Hi. Look at me here. Yeah. Oh, you're pretty handsome for a short guy kind of thing. You know what I mean? She's like cheeky, smoky, and brassy, I'm Bette Midler. But I didn't feel that vibe as much on this record.
Yeah, it's more of like an honest sort of
and I just
all to the earth piece of work. Kind of in stark contrast to this. To like her later stuff, Bathhouse Betty. It's all getting a little more cartoony after that. Yeah, like maybe in this era of career, she's really trying to compete with some of these like more rock and roll types. That's probably how she got cast as that part in the Rose, because it looks like the Rose came out 78, which would have been after that record. So she was really doing more of that Janis Joplin-y soul-y.
Yes, it sounds like Janis Joplin.
Yeah, because she can wail.
Yeah, there's some songs on here where you're like, oh my God, that sounds like Janis Joplin.
That's
And when
like
I played it,
rock
people
and
were
roll.
like, it's rock and roll, dude.
Yeah.
It's her rock and roll vibes. So the other record I've been listening to recently is
Oh yeah, I mean
Gladys Knight and the Pips.
And what album is that?
Imagination.
Imagination by
This also, oh my God, this is funny. This also came out in 1973, but I guess it's
Wow, you're in
1973.
a
I'm
70s.
I'm really feeling the 70s. I
Yeah.
really am. This has got the, Midnight Train to Georgia.
Oh, that's just like
Yeah. Best thing that ever happened to me.
lots of horns already. Love it. There it is.
Yeah, I'm really feeling the 70s.
Look at this. See, nobody would have an album cover like this anymore. They're all holding a giant gold ornate frame on the cover of this. Like what?
Yeah. Wearing all white.
Yeah.
And it's like, use your imagination. What's in the picture? I don't know.
Exactly.
You're gonna use
It's like
your
an empty.
imagination.
Yes. That's so great.
Yeah.
It's like fill in the blank.
Yeah, it's pretty cute.
I mean, we all know Midnight Train to Georgia, which just sort of hurts, hurts my feelings. So good.
Yeah.
I miss
really
horns in music.
You miss what?
Horns in music.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. Speaking of horns in music,
Yeah.
because whenever you'll talk about that,
Yeah.
I think about like saxophone, and somebody's the other day was like, saxophone's this instrument that sucks, blah, 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 talking crap about the saxophone. Yet at the same time, saxophone has had many highs in its imaging, like in The Lost Boys. In that movie, do you remember The Lost Boys? Lost Boys is one of my favorite movies.
I should rewatch it.
They're out at the beach, like party scene or whatever, and this guy's like playing the saxophone all crazy, and he's like nudie, he's got no shirt on, and he's just like, and there's like fires going around, and like the vampire teenagers are all coming out. So
saxophone definitely had a punk moment. It was like definitely like a rebel kind of instrument for a minute in the 80s.
What? Yeah.
Yeah. My dad was always like, growing up in my house, my parents would always be like, he played a sweet sax on that track. You know what I mean? But I think it was like, it was definitely had its moments in the 80s. And like, I think about 80s music videos, and there'd always be like a close up on the like sax player doing his like sweet lead. It was in pop music in the 90s for sure. A lot. But now it's like, but then it like went out hardcore in the 2000s, probably because program music became out so much the industry standard, and horn samples don't sound good.
They don't. Yeah, they don't.
Cheesy. So
yeah. So and I mean, that definitely could be part of the reason, for sure.
But saxophone's a very specific instrument. It's like very croony. If there was a relevant social topic that we could touch on shortly before we left. Oh, you brought up Beetlejuice, but you said it wouldn't get made, but there is Beetlejuice 2 is out right now.
I know.
I wish we could go see that together.
I know.
Have you heard anything about it?
I have not. And I have to say, okay, talk about conglomeration. The marketing for that movie is out of control. Everywhere you go, there's Beetlejuice stuff.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I saw friends of mine dressing up to go see it. Are we supposed to go dress up to go see Beetlejuice?
Oh my God, I would love.
Should we take Ryder?
Oh man, he might get really scared.
He's not allowed to go, right?
Yeah, he's only 3. He had a song this morning he was singing on his way to school, and it's called "Don't Say the F Word." Don't say the F word. Don't say fuck. Don't say shit. And I was like, right on. You cannot say that. He's like, I wasn't saying it. I was saying, don't say those words.
He knows. He gets it.
Like,
He's hilarious.
yeah, he's looking for loops. He's always looking for a little
In
loophole.
the system.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us with Erin and Emmy's VHS and Vinyl Club. We will talk to you next week about movies and records that we love, and maybe a couple social, important social topics too, like
Making your own jam.
making your own, yeah, or
just being polite in the right time.
yeah, these are important issues. Or lamb chops for dogs, pit bull mixes.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.